Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Alex Sprouse, here with my co-host, Ethan Domenech, and our guest, Nicky Hood and Athena Hood.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us, Mike.
Yes.
So, how long have you been graduated from Licking High School?
I'm going on my second year now.
Yeah. Second year?
Yeah.
Pretty old.
Pretty old.
How about you, Athena?
I graduated in 2019, so it's been 5 years since I graduated high school.
Even older.
Yes.
That is crazy. Nicky, what have you done while you've been graduating?
Here we go.
Okay, well, I went up to St. Louis for a year, studied political science with a good buddy of mine, Keaton Rennie, 2023 class president here at Licking. And then I'm getting ready to join the United States Air Force next week, actually.
The Air Force?
Yes, sir.
Military is pretty respectable, but
yeah.
Why
the Air Force?
Specifically the Air Force?
A lot of money in it. A lot of money in it.
A lot of money.
I like money. Yeah.
Money's good.
Yes, it is.
How about you, Athena? What have you done outside of high school once you graduated?
After I graduated, I went to the University of Missouri, and I majored in journalism and political science. So I got a bachelor's in journalism with emphasis in strategic communications, and then I got a bachelor of arts in political science. And 3 weeks after I graduated college, I moved out to Washington, D.C., and I currently work in the United States Senate.
Could you tell us a bit about that job? Like, what exactly are you doing there?
Yeah, so in my current role, I am the press assistant on the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee, which means that I help and aid the senator who is the ranking member in this case with anything comms related. That could range from working with the press, running social media accounts, stuff like that.
Okay, so publicity side of everything.
What'd you say? Sorry.
It's like the publicity side of everything?
Yeah, basically. I always knew I kind of wanted to be in the PR space, like public relations, and it kind of worked out perfectly, so.
Well, why DC?
I always knew I had a passion for politics. We can tell you that, like, we grew up in a household that was very political, but it wasn't, like, one way or the other necessarily, and so I got to see a lot of that. And then when I was 17, I came out to DC with Intercounty Electric on their Missouri Youth Tour, and I got a first real glimpse of Congress at its finest, and that just made me love it even more. And then when I got to college, I added a political science major, and ever since the longer I'm here, the more I fall in love with the city. So it's not that bad.
Great idea. Could you share with us like a specific thing that like you did over there, like something interesting for the peeps?
I think. So one thing that I'm really, really passionate about is mental health and suicide prevention. Obviously, if you know a lot about me and Nicky, like, suicide touched our lives in a very specific and special way. And so in my job directly, a lot of the legislation that we advocate for and my boss introduces has to do with helping mental health and suicide prevention efforts for veterans. And I think it makes it really easy to get up and go to work every day when you love what you do, and especially when you're passionate about it. And so being able to, like, kind of sort of behind the scenes feel like I'm doing something that's good and like helping people is really nice. So I love that.
Sounds like a very fulfilling job.
Oh yeah, no, I do love it a lot. It is an honor to work here, honestly, especially like straight out of college. The longer I'm here, the more I realize that it's not normal. And so it really is an honor, and I'm just blessed.
That's great to hear. Working in the federal government and dealing with all you talked about, like you work, like the legislation being passed to help with suicide and all those things. How do you view the federal government being like in it?
It doesn't feel real sometimes. like when I watch the news, it's kind of very surreal. It's still surreal to me because like there's still this part of me that's like from Licking, Missouri, and from a tiny town, and I still think I live by a lot of the same like moral values that I have when I lived in Missouri and like from growing up there. But it's sometimes I have to like pinch myself and be like, wow, this is real. You really do work in the Senate. Like, it, I can't explain. I sound crazy, but I can't explain it in a way that like, besides just saying, it doesn't feel real sometimes.
I mean, I think I would probably think the same way. You're in the most powerful government in the world.
Yeah.
Well, how about we end it on a light note then? How do you like DC? Just living in the city?
Oh, at first, it wasn't my favorite place in the world, if we're being honest. I think getting used to any new area is hard. Getting used to a metropolitan city that has like a humongous population in many different areas is a little harder. I'll never forget the first time I ever forced myself to ride the metro. So I rode the metro out to Virginia, and I forced myself to turn off my phone and find my way back to DC. Because if you do that, you'll learn. I saw Nikki laugh. If you do that, you learn how to get through the city on public transit. So
Dangerous game.
there is a lot of people. So it's easy to like meet people and make friends, and there's always something to do. But it was a big adjustment, especially coming from Missouri and initially like a really small town, obviously, as you know.
Yeah, I would imagine it's a pretty big difference.
Yes. Yeah. It's whenever I tell people where I'm like, oh, they're like, where are you from? I'm like, oh, South Central Missouri. They're like, what part? I'm like, do you know what? Have you ever heard of Licking? And like you'd be amazed. Some people have because like they have family members, or a lot of people here in DC know where Licking is because of Fort Leonard Wood. So it's always really fun for me whenever they're like, oh my gosh, I know where Licking is. I'm like, you're joking. You do not know where Licking is.
Yeah.
But it is always really fun for me, and it is different, but it's you get used to it. So.
Yeah, well, sounds great, man. Thank you, Ms. Hood. Alex?
I don't know how to follow that up. That was a lot.
Yes.
So Nikki, what are you gonna go do in the Air Force? What specifically?
I am a aircraft hydraulics specialist, so I will be assigned an aircraft here in just the next few weeks, maybe a month, and then they will station me wherever they would like me to be working on that aircraft. I make sure it gets up in the air and lands successfully.
So you make sure the plane planes.
Yes.
Very good.
Very good.
Very good.
Yeah.
So after the military, well, what's your general game plan? Are you gonna go back for more college, or you're just gonna live life?
No, I would love to go back to school. I'd love to finish my degree. Show her up. No.
Now you gotta go to Washington, D.C. too.
No, good lord, no. If I do good enough in the Air Force and they offer me a pretty nice sign back bonus, I just might sign on and make a career out of it. But I would love to go back and finish my degree. Yeah.
Would you just pursue the one degree, or would you pursue other degrees, other fields?
I've always had a knack for the history, and I'd love to come back and teach at Licking, maybe in the social studies department. But I was enjoying my political science studies up at the University of Missouri St. Louis, so I could go back and finish there. Yeah, either one.
Think you eventually you're gonna run for Congress, or
Good lord, no.
politics?
No, thank you. No.
What would stop you from that? What could we change?
Nothing. Not a thing. I hear enough about how it is from her, and she's not even a congresswoman. So, I don't want to get in that mess, yeah.
So you want to become like a teacher, is what you were saying?
I wouldn't mind, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Education field type stuff?
Yes, sir.
What calls you to that?
My grandmother, I have a great respect for her, and she was a teacher here at, she taught at Ellington for 4 years?
Yeah, I think so.
3 or 4, and then she came up here to Licking and taught for 2 decades. Yeah, she was a 3rd grade teacher. You guys might know her. Gaylan? No? Okay. Never mind.
No.
Never mind. Okay. But yeah.
Third grade, I had Miss Cooper.
I was in California.
He was not here.
Wow. Miss Cooper. I don't know. Okay. But yeah.
Elementary was awful. It was not good.
So I've heard.
I loved it.
You loved it. Right?
Oh, yeah. I had Miss Heath in 3rd grade.
Oh, well,
We're getting off track.
maybe,
We're getting off track.
Yeah. that happens a lot. You should see the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
It's really bad.
Well,
Yeah.
since we're here anyways, I might as well ask you, Miss Hood, how did you like elementary here?
Oh, elementary was my time to shine.
Don't lie.
Now is not your time.
I still use this. We took recess for granted. As an adult who works 40-hour weeks, 40 plus usually, there's nothing more I want in the world than to go back to being like my 6 or 8-year-old self who just could not wait to go outside and swing and play basketball and just play tag with her friends. So
Life was simple.
I try to encourage my younger siblings besides Nikki, our younger siblings who are 11 and 12. Oh my God.
11 and 12, yeah.
And enjoy their childhood while they're still children, you know. 'Cause I
She
miss
was
it a
always in
lot.
trouble. Don't let her. She was always in trouble in elementary school. Yes, she was.
That is not true.
She missed so many trips. Countless trips. It was funny. Uh-huh. Yep.
I did have a talking problem as a child. Yes,
Yes.
I did.
Yes, she did. Yes.
I did too.
Amen.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, how do you think I got?
It's your calling. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
perfect.
it's my calling just to
Yeah.
talk and
Talk to
and
people.
talk.
Yep.
Yeah, but what?
I feel like I'm the only one here who had a horrible time in elementary.
Really?
I did not like it. I had straight A's, did not like it. And then 5th grade rolled around and I realized, oh, I can talk.
Mm-hmm.
And then F's. If it wasn't for the No Child Left Behind law, I would still be in 6th grade.
Thank you, George W. Bush.
Thank you, George W. Bush. Saved
you,
me
George Bush.
from so many more years of school.
Yep.
I still don't know how to do fractions.
I couldn't tell you how either.
I
Really?
can't do fractions. I have to have a calculator to multiply
Yep.
every other number.
Amen.
It's awful.
Do you need to use math in the real world?
No.
Yes.
Ah.
That was my guess.
Well, no, to a certain extent, because, as an adult, I probably have to use math as a whole, yes, because you have to do, personal finances, which is, very much a regular thing that, is coming for everyone whenever they turn 18 or, move out or whatever life experience happens. You just have to be able to being able to handle finances. That's one thing, and then especially in my job, there is a statistical side to political science as well. But I mean, I necessarily don't deal with that as much as other people who work in Congress, just because I work more in comms. But there is math in general as a whole, yes. Certain types of math, probably not, but calculators do exist.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, I don't know about this guy though.
Nope.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. She knows.
Other than basic addition and subtraction, I don't really use math. I've never found a use for it. I've never needed to find the hypotenuse of my bed.
Amen.
I've always found how to get in it
Yep.
without it.
Yeah. I remember Doug Smith, Mr. Smith. Don't tell him I called him Doug. He in junior high. What was it? Drop, change, flip.
Yep.
Yeah.
Chop, change, flip.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
drilled it. He drilled it into my brain. I do know that one.
Our class was too big. We got split into 2 different teachers.
Huh.
I didn't have Mr. Smith. I had
Really?
Miss Lewis.
You had Mr. Smith, John?
She was also great.
Smith, too.
Miss Lewis?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I had Mr. Smith, and I always loved when the last week of every year, if you had him, because I think I had him for 7th and 8th grade
Yeah, me too.
math, and he the last week of the year he basically always spent it talking about
In the stock market.
investing
Yep.
and
Yeah.
how to apply math to your real life.
Yeah.
So it is very useful
Yes.
once you get older. You don't realize it then, but it will become useful.
Yep. Yes.
I think we can wrap it up.
It's only been 15 minutes.
Yes. Oh, we've covered a lot. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you did, read your whole paper that you had spent a whole class hour on in like the first 5 minutes.
I mean, like, I did skip a question. I skipped like 3 questions.
Dude, well,
with
She's
the-
here. Feel free to ask.
yeah.
Being in the realm of politics, ma'am, could you please tell us, like, what advice would you have for, like, us people who are here on the outside, who are just like, casting their vote every now and again? What advice do you have for us when it deals with politics?
Oh, that's a great question. She can't answer.
Do you mean in the sense of like how you should look at politics, or how you could get involved in politics?
Let's say look at, because most of us are going to be answering that.
Yeah. Looking at politics, I mean, I think that you should just try to be the most informed
Yep.
as you possibly can through whatever methods in media you deem appropriate. And that's just my personal thoughts. If you care enough about politics and try to pay attention to it, if you want to pay attention to it, that's great. If you don't, that's also totally understood.
If you don't mind me stepping back a bit, I know we already talked about your job and all that. Could I ask you one more thing about it? Alright. Being that you like have to deal with the publicity and everything, and perhaps not as involved in the decision making, I assume, is that right? Right.
Mm-hmm.
How do you balance like what you believe your values with the job?
Oh, that. How it's not hard to balance it when you're really passionate about your job and you truly love what you do. If that wasn't the case, I could see how that would be a more difficult thing to juggle. But in my case, I've never had to question that, and hopefully I never do. But if that ever became a question, I think that would be something that I'd have to work through and discuss with like my bosses and my coworkers and stuff like that, and the leadership. But that's never happened, and I don't. I mean, it makes my job really, really easy to love. So.
Sounds nice. I was told that you used to work for Senator Josh Hawley. Is that correct?
Yes, when I first graduated, I worked for Senator Hawley for 5 months.
5 months, and how was that? Like, what did you do there?
In Senator Hawley's office, I was a staff assistant, which meant that whenever people came to the DC office, usually they were from Missouri or like somewhere nearby, whether they had meetings or they were looking for a White House tour or a Capitol tour, if they wanted to get something scheduled. That was primarily my job. I had to greet them, schedule everything, coordinate with whoever on the legislative team they were having a meeting with. Very, very basic, simple stuff. So
Managerial stuff and all that.
what'd you say?
Managerial stuff and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's a lot, but yeah, I mean, staff assistants have a very, very, very important role because they are a lot of times the people facing the public, you know. So, and that's, and I did love that. That was great, and I loved being able to see and speak to people from Missouri on like a daily basis because it kind of made it feel like I hadn't even left home. So that was really great.
And I assume it kind of felt like you were actually doing something for the people in Missouri.
Oh yeah, it really made me happy to know that I was working for someone who like was from my home state, like represented the best of the brightest from Missouri, and is someone who like on a federal level represented Missouri, which is like home to me. Like it's my favorite place on earth. So
You only grew up here.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you, Miss.
Nicky, you were in choir, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I was.
How many years were you in choir?
Oh, all 4. Freshman through senior.
All
yeah.
4 years.
Yep.
Have you used any of your skills that you learned in choir in your day-to-day life at all?
Only in the shower.
Only in the
Only
shower.
in the shower, yeah.
Nicholas.
That's about it. No, I haven't performed in a serious structured choir since outside of high school. No.
If our country goes to war, are you gonna join the military marching band?
I just might.
Yeah.
You know, I know how to play the saxophone. I just might. No
Well, people
doubt.
like me and John
Yeah.
are Russian on the no man's land. We're
Yep.
gonna hear Nicky
In the background.
in the background singing
Playing-
"Amazing Grace" or
Yep.
something of the sort.
You should
Careless
look over the
whisper.
horizon.
Yeah.
So, what other clubs or organizations were you a part of in high school?
I was the vice president of my senior class. I was the vice president of science club. I was the vice president of FBLA. I was, let's see, I was secretary of history club, and I was a captain on the golf team, and lead bass in the choir.
So basically, you did everything.
Yeah, but
That
so did
sounds,
she.
That sounds tiring.
Yeah.
I'm sure Ethan will get to that in a bit, in a close second.
Mm-hmm.
But that's tiring. Like, how do you have the time for all that?
Well, it was pretty easy. I had friends in there with me, so you have to focus on taking it seriously, but at the same time, not. So, you know, most of the times in high school, my good buddy Keaton, he was the president of most of these clubs, so he came in with a serious, stern approach to it, and I would follow that up with a more laid-back, relaxed, more charitable ideas. So, I think that together we got a lot done for especially our class and for the school. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Athena, what did you do in high school? Like, what were all the organizations, clubs, you know?
So I was involved in a lot.
Mhm.
I think in most everything that I was in, I held some sort of leadership position as well. I couldn't tell you the exact roles I had in each thing, but I was in FBLA, FCCLA, science club. I loved science club. I played on the basketball team. I was in NHS. If there was something that I wasn't in or included, like it was a lot is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I look back on it now because I realized that I was so heavily involved, and I played a sport that lasts like 5 months, and then I would like go to school, go to practice or go to a game, come home, do homework, go to sleep, do it all again the next day, and it was a lot. And I think genuinely it did prepare me for like working my 9 to 5, 9 to 6 when we're in session. Like those long hours, it did prepare you to like constantly always be going, which is really nice because now I'm used to it in my job.
It helped you learn to manage your time.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely,
100%.
yeah.
You don't realize it when you're 17.
Yeah.
But you realize it later on that you're like, whoa, it sounds crazy that a 17-year-old was like in school all day, spent 2 hours at practice, or even if not practice, like if it was an away game, like we were in the Frisco League, so like we had to go like an hour away for every game, play the game, hour back, do your homework, shower, finally go to sleep. I really don't know how I slept all through high school, looking back on it. And now being an adult, it's like I value time at home where I go home from work, I take a shower, I make dinner, I watch a television show, I read my book, I go to sleep, and I value that so heavily. So
Come have a discussion with us mere plebeians.
The proletariat over here.
But seriously, thank you for connecting to the Zoom call, having a discussion with us. Nikki, thank you for coming in,
Yep.
having a discussion with us. I've been Alex Sprouse. Thank you for watching.